Dear friends, in this session we are going to discuss the demand, volume, and supply atmosphere to the book Economic Cosmic Concept and Economic Development. And this elaboration of shape of economy has backward linkages with the first book, Cosmic Concept and Economic Development. Why I have chosen the word volume? That is because of certain reasons that Earth is a volume. Volume means breadth, length, weight that is contained within a shape, and since the spherical shape contains the maximum mass, therefore the volume of Earth means the total weight and the total length and breadth of our planet Earth. So this is the volume, and the atmosphere is has evolved over a very long period of time. When solar system was born, when it was under development, initially Earth was kind of a sea of lava and full of volcanoes, and the atmosphere was filled up with various types of toxic gases, and no living form, living organism was not there. Later on, the volume of the earth cooled to a certain stage where the oceans were found, what we call is the mixture of oxygen gas and hydrogen gas, and this was gradually done, and because of the oceans, the living organisms took place, single cell, then double cell, and later on the marine life, and then in marine life there were certain creatures which migrated to the landmass of the earth, and that's how the living beings started populating the volume of the earth. It means that the volume of the earth created a atmosphere surrounding it. Now whatever atmosphere we get, that is due to its reaction with the volume of the earth. The air we breathe is not just oxygen, but it is full of other chemicals also, other gases also, and you find all kind of gases are in the lower atmosphere, and as you go up and up, the density of oxygen is starts diminishing, and after a certain point you can't breathe oxygen at all. So it has evolved over a pretty long time. Millions of years has taken the current atmosphere to stabilize in the shape what we see today. Similarly, if you draw a conclusion with these two phrases, that the volume generates demand, and as a reaction to it, atmosphere is I draw a parallel like this that atmosphere has a proactive role. Unless a demand originates from the volume, the supply atmosphere will not grow. Only when there is a demand, the production starts. And that is how the you see the development in the trade commerce industry and various other types of economic activities have grown over a period of time. It is because of the demand pattern is constantly changing, and as a reaction to that, atmosphere has grown pretty large scale. You call it the modern industry, the base, the progress was gradual. Since the day the James Watt invented the boiler system, which facilitated the movement of rails, and later on the combustion engines and so on and so forth. You see the development has taken, at least in modern terms, if you call it, at least 300 years before all these developments and the industrial revolution started this way. The parallel of the volume of Earth and atmosphere. Therefore, in this shape of economy book, the volume is identified as demand and atmosphere is identified as production. If the demand fails, the atmosphere will collapse, means the productive activities will fall. The atmosphere will change. Similarly, if there is a increase or reduction in the population of human beings living in the volume, the demand may go up, or in case the population is decreasing, the demand will go down. So accordingly, the atmosphere has to respond by increasing the production or decrease in the production. Similarly, the human beings living in the volume, they invent new technology, science technology, new processes of production, identifying more useful minerals, and accordingly, these factors change the composition of atmosphere. So new industries, productive industries, they take place, they start developing in the atmosphere. Because the purpose of atmosphere is to supply the goods and services to the people living in the demand volume. Unless there is a demand for a service or a consumable item, in that case, the production will not respond from the atmosphere. Similarly, now we come to the elementary part of the demand volume. As I told you before, that it is a macro level economics. So all the people living in the in a national economy or a regional economy or in the world economy put together, they constitute one demand. So demand has a two basic elements, that is income and consumption. Unless there is a income, demand cannot take place, and unless there is a consumption, the supply goods and services will not take place. Therefore, the fundamental forces of the two poles of consumption and income and other two poles of production and expenditure and how they different poles attract each other and how the forces of repulsion keep on changing the shape of the economy. That is how the shape of economy is derived. The first graph has been explained to you in the previous sessions. And now in this session, we are going to vertically divide the volume and atmosphere and try to find out how it affects the shape of economy in changing times and changed circumstances. That is the basic purpose of today's discussion and deliberation. So let us see what is the basic feature of demand volume. As I discussed with you that the it has a active role because consumption is one force which makes the volume, demand volume, always active. The change in demography, change in education, change in income, it always keeps on changing. Therefore, it has a active role, and the income which the people generate through the productive activities. So it has a one very basic postulate that every consumer is a producer also. Unless he produces, he can't earn his income. And if he doesn't have the income, in that case, he won't have the purchasing power and consumption won't take place. Therefore, we always try to increase the per capita income of people living within a national economy so that the purchasing power pushes the level of consumption and accordingly within the country the growth in industrial development and allied activities will also grow. And that is how the prosperity is achieved in the national economy. So this is the basic feature of volume volume in shape of economy, demand volume in shape of economy, and there is a constant variations taking place due to unpredictable variables. They come into force at different level at different time. We will discuss these variables at a later stage. But now let us come to atmosphere. Atmosphere, as we discussed before, that is, it grows due to demand generating from the volume, and it has a proactive role. Proactive means that it has to respond to the currents, economic currents generated by the demand volume. So it increases, decreases according to variations in the demand pattern that is generated by the volume of the economy. It is the most fundamental deliberation for today's discussion, and with the help of graph, the magnetic flow between the two poles of volume and two poles of atmosphere has been illustrated in, in the graph number 2. The graph has been explained also that within the magnetic field of volume, the two poles, the current constantly flows between income and consumption. If there is a more income, more consumption will take place. So, between these two poles of the volume of the economy, the constant changes always take place. Similarly, there is another, if you put another magnet, there is also plus and minus poles. Plus side is production and minus side is expenditure. And we have discussed it that similar poles repulse each other and opposite poles attract each other. That is how the national economy and the demand volume and supply atmosphere always they have a kind of a cohesive force. They are the cohesive forces that stabilize the economy of the nation, and a particular shape can be drawn by further permutations and combinations. The as we have discussed in the previous lecture, that in a static equilibrium, the demand equals to the consumption equals to income, and income equals to consumption, and similarly the production equals to cost of production or the expenditure, and expenditure always equals to production. But in real sense, this static equilibrium never exists, and it's always a dynamic equilibrium between the four forces of two forces of physical activity and two forces of monetary activity. This logic also we have discussed in previous lectures, and I don't think we need to further go unless you have some apprehension or some rethinking on the content of this book. Now I further request you to please keep the book open from page 15 to 21 and read the content of the book, and then try to understand the subject matter of the discussion, and whether or not my elaboration of demand volume and supply atmosphere is clear to you or not. My only reservation is this, that the terminology used in this book may not suit someone, and therefore they are free to give a new nomenclature to it, a different kind of connotation to it, different meaning to it. But for the purpose of drawing the graph of shape of economy, this kind of division should be understood by every listener, every person who wants to have a scientific reasoning. If he is trying to find out the scientific logic behind the graph of the shape of economy, this is the basic objective of this lecture. And other components of this graph we will take one by one. Till then, thanks.